Aframu's Thresh still not available.
Will Bart get banned?
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe you can just back off the Soraka pick. It wasn't a huge factor for CLG in Game 1, and then Game 2, once again, not a big factor for Phoenix1. So maybe a little over-prioritized over the course of this series.
Yeah, maybe so. We'll wait to see. Olaf still banned away from Meteos. Yeah, and this is always what I like to see in these series, is just banning champions that you can see this guy's good at. We don't really want to play it. We're fine treating the meta junglers and whatnot back and forth.
MarkZ again. Like those playmaking supports, you know? You don't want Aframu to do what he did on Bart. You don't want him to roam around, get kills, get vision, get the mid priority like he can do on Mazahar, Bart, and Thresh.
And it's interesting to see that they're not really targeting the AD carries anymore. We saw Varus banned both games. It could still come in for CLG here, but then we also saw the Ashe last game as well for Phoenix1. So maybe they're gonna slow down with their AD carry bans and focus more on the
it didn't prove efficient the last game when they banned Ashe and Varus and picked Jhin, and then they just picked still Azrael and pushed him in. It's more like the both games we saw, it's more about who pushes and who has the bot lane priority to roam. It wasn't really who has Varus or who has Jhin at this point of the game.
As we do see the Varus ban come in, not too much of a surprise, considered one of the strongest champions on the patch. So Phoenix1 goes again.
Okay. Yep. Once again, it's just Ashe. This champion will always push, right?
Yep.
No matter what support you pick it with, the level 1 priority from Ashe is just so strong.
Yeah, volley hits 4, hit them for 80 damage. It's like, you got lane priority.
Yeah, volley and auto attack is just such a good trade, and there are not many 80 carries that can outpush that or match that.
And I think you saw also Game 1 how good Arrow was at starting stuff off for his team. We said he was 5 for 6 in arrows, I believe, of his ultimate arrows, not his name. That would have made sense.
I got you.
But I think like just having that kind of consistent engage out of Ashe is why it is so high priority for them instead of the Jhin or something, which is good for starting fights off, but it's not quite as explosive.
Actually, we're seeing Elise as the queen of the jungle with literally 1 jungle ban.
Yeah.
They said Elise is the most important, and they hop off.
Open, yeah.
Yeah, they also hop off the Jhin that they played in the previous in Game 1 and go for the Ezreal anyway instead.
Yeah, they don't want to get baited into the Jhin, because then again they would see what happened in the first game when Ashe was just pushing. Now they're trying to match it with a strong level 1 AD carry as well. I like this a lot, because if you look at Ashe and Ezreal, Ezreal is one of the strongest level 1 AD carries as is Ashe, and it's all about right now. I would even see a priority on supports like Karma. So you get the extra edge for pushing the lane, because right now it's like Ashe is a bit favored in the level 1 push, but Ezreal is very close to it.
All right, we'll see if so it's going to be about how they can play the level 1 then.
Yeah, and then who will push out. You normally go straight to bottom and you stay in your bush next to the tower, and then who can push the enemy bot lane out of their bush wins the lane, basically wins the level 1. And there is the priority on support, where they just pick it early support so they know that they can push out level 1, and that's really good, because even though you will hit Ezreal Qs on Ashe, then Nami will just heal through it and they will push you off at the level 1 priority, and that means they will be pushing the lane already.
Whereas banned last game by CLG, it's basically Adrian's best champion. He plays it all the time, even in situations other teams might not pick it. You see Adrian grabbing the Nami, so
Braum.
CLG goes Braum, and that is basically conceding.
Yeah, that is basically saying that, okay, we don't want to fight you. You will push us. We agree. You will push us. We will gank you, right? They can try to gank this lane with Braum. It's a very easy gank. But once again, they picked Ashe Nami. You already see that we talked about
blink,
the level
no
1.
dashes.
There's basically, you can win level 1. So they take the different approach and they say, okay, you have 2 0 mobility champions.
Yep.
You're easily gankable, and they have Elise.
So I want to tunnel on this. I'm going to ignore the rest of champ select, because I think we've all been in solo queue games where you're like, man, they're out laning us, and then the freaking jungler can't bot and we lost anyway. Like, I want to break down, like, okay, how does P1 deal with the fact that Smithy's on Elise, a great early jungler, and how does CLG deal with the fact that they've got Elise, a great early game jungler, but an otherwise losing lane?
So P1 still has the priority, I would say, because if you have Ashe Nami, you can push. Until level 3, you shouldn't get ganked by a jungler unless you get cheese level 2 gank. So what they should do is they will push the 2 first waves. They will keep their wards, because they don't have to usually use a ward in the lane bush for lane dominance, because then you see the support all the time and you can trade with him. But this time they have such a strong lane compared to Ezreal Braum that they can just keep their wards. They don't have to ward the side bushes, and then after pushing 2 waves, they will go in a river and they will go ward basically against Elise, and they can use both trinkets because they will have both trinkets to ward, and that will save them for the time from level 3, level 4. But then when it dies, level 5, then you're in trouble. They can gank you again.
And even with the 2 wards that you're going to put down, with the addition of blast cones and things like that, if CLG does a good job tracking where those wards went down, you can still path around it. And it's
going to like tri-brush and blast cone over the wall.
Yeah, you can do things like that. You can head straight through river if they're deep on camps. You just have to be very aware of where they put these wards. It becomes actually a really interesting mind game where Phoenix1 will have priority. They can dip out of the fog of war basically, and you sometimes put shallow wards but stay out of vision longer to make them think you went for deeper wards and things like that. And Counter Logic Game is going to be calling those and trying to path Elise down there, assuming they are trying to force these bot lanes.
Yeah, I forgot to tell that in this specific matchup, like they're so much stronger that they should just do a very deep wards, right? They shouldn't do the
ward on the camp.
Yeah, they should do the near the camps the ward because they can afford to do that. But then again, even if you ward the camps, Elise is such good ganking jungler with Braum that he can come through lane, and then Braum flashes exhaust, guaranteeing it. That basically guarantees that you will get hit by the Q. Because if you get flashed exhaust by Braum, you're slow. Most of the players will start panicking. They will flash as well, and then you know exactly where he is. He's still slowed from the exhaust, and then you Braum Q, and you triple flash and kill him.
Yeah, and you also have the option to use the Braum W to jump onto a creep. So Phoenix1, both Arrow and Adrian are going to have to be worried about where they're positioning in lane if there's a creep nearby and it's at a time where you might be gankable. You don't want to end up right next to a creep because then you just get that flash auto Q exhaust or something like that.
And this is a big irony, honestly, from this game, because usually we see P1 bot lane play safe and just trying to survive the lane, and now they have such a strong level 1 and such a strong bot lane, and then you see CLG, who always plays aggressive combos bot lane, playing a very passive. They just switched things.
Yeah, and that's funny. Like, as P1, are you allowed to say screw it, play under a turret? They have Elise. Like, are you allowed to play the matchup that way, or do you let Braum get away with a weak laning phase and say, yeah, we'll just give you control, or is that not acceptable?
You should push the first 2 waves as fast as possible, then ward, and then you should play the lane that you build up. You let them push towards you slightly, and then you zone them with Ash W and Name, and you start building a huge wave. And the bigger the wave is, the more chance is that you will deny Ezreal more CS. That's A, and B, that Elise cannot gank you, because if there is a big minion wave stacking towards you, you don't want to gank.
Right, yeah.
They can turn on you and they can kill you, or even if you would gank and get a kill, it's still not worth because you would miss all the CS.
So my thought is, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. My thought is that we're probably going to watch then from Arrow's POV because their fog of war means more because they're tracking the Elise.
Yeah, they should. We should look how they ward, because that's going to be very important.
Yeah, now I want to keep hitting on this warding point, because the thing about freezing the wave back when you do that is you're no longer able to really get deep wards, because if you try and go at that point, you'll get cut off by the enemy team. So there's always these kind of trade-offs where you push, you get a lot of deep vision, you deny the enemy team, you get turret chip damage. What are you giving up? The opportunity for the enemy team to gank you. You play back a lot further, you're giving up vision and some of those other advantages. So
you have to play very well around your timings, because it depends. The drinking board stays alive depending on your level. It scales with your level. So you have to, if you push the 2 first waves, and then you have 1 minute of your ward basically. So you have 1 minute where you can let them slightly, let's say 20 seconds you will let them push, and 40 seconds you will build up a big wave. So when your ward dies, then you have a big wave and you cannot get ganked. And at that point, you should already be at 5-minute mark where you have 44 CS if you're very perfect at last hitting, and that means BS sword for Ashe. And that's the base you are looking for. You wanna deny as Ezreal, you wanna base on tier. If you deny the tier and you keep the Ezreal until the BS Horde, then you're good to go, because then when you reset, you have a BS Horde, he has a tier, and a call.
A longsword or a call or something, right?
And that basically means you have so much power to win the lane. And that's what, as Ashe, you should be striking to play versus Ezreal, you should be denying that one.
Okay, and so, sorry, just to kind of eclipse the point, I guess, is like you're playing to have the lane last long enough that you can do a 1400 gold recall. You're like trying to keep him in lane against you. If you have priority, he can't recall first. Lose a full wave if he does it, and have the priority that like you have to have pressure last long enough that at the 5:36-minute recall, 1400 gold into the base we go.
And I know, obviously we talk more about bot lane, but there's two other really important points for P1 to consider. One is Aurelion Sol can get on the map and start roaming very, very early, and we've seen Stixay do that before. Or, excuse me. So P1 also needs to keep those other factors in mind. It's not just all about the Elise.
Yeah, you can see in the pocket board they put 2 pings down on the river, saying, "Hey, by the way, we can't see Aurelion Sol. Ryu can't match. He's clearing a wave." Okay, he went topside.
And this was very interesting approach from P1 bot lane. They know that they have such a strong bot lane. You see how well they are trading. This trade is so perfect for them because they, once again, they have sustain from Name. If you trade even badly with Name, you are still winning the trade. And level 1, instead of pushing the lane instantly, they were helping their jungler. They were so confident in their level 1 ability to push that they were securing the jungler.
Yeah, and Adrian's doing a great job getting the double bounces. That's 2 Ws in a row. That it can be difficult to do that.
Target the ranged enemy champion. Stay in range. It'll bounce to the melee enemy champion. You get all 3 hits that way. Level 2 did go to CLG first, slightly.
Level 2 E on Ashe, that's a very good thing you should be always doing. Level 2 E on Ashe basically gives you a free vision of where the jungler is. If you see what Camps is doing, you can plan his route. For example, if he starts bottom side, you know he will have to go top side. So always get level 2 E on Ashe, because if you get Q, it doesn't give you anything, like 6 more damage. That's really nothing in the lane.
And Arrow aimed it to go over the blue buff and over the wolves, and saw that both camps seemed to still be up at that time. So they said, okay, Smith is gonna be bot side soon. He started top, he's probably around blue, expect at least bot side. And he's there.
Yeah, it looks like Adrian will probably be able to get out here. Does get stunned up, but...
and, I mean, honestly, Adrian was late, I feel like. 3 minutes 30 is a very late gank timing. 3 minutes is like the latest you get to put a ward down.
Yeah, he should have went to ward instantly when the E saw the camps. He should have already known that Elise will be pathing bot line, that she has the camp bot side. I have to go ward instantly. And he hesitated. He waited for 15 seconds for no reason, and then Elise was already there for the gank.
And you can see that he was scared at that point, because he was very hesitant walking up to that tri-bush. He was like, uh-oh, I think we might have waited a little too long, and they get punished.
Yeah, but then again, it was very well communicated from CLG bot lane, because they were like, hey, this bot lane hasn't warded yet, and they have to ward because they're scared of you. So if you go there, we will flash ulta or flash Q them, and we will try to kill them. But Adrian was fast enough with his reaction and flashed the cocoon.
Yeah, I think the cocoon missed and he flashed it anyway or something close to that, but you're right. Like, not getting cocooned, I think he was dead if cocoon lands because he get the Braum stun layered off. But again, P1, okay, flashless Nami is, I guess, a bit of a risk, but you can see, yeah, he's like, he's trying to bait out the cocoon. And then, yeah, he just missed flash cocoon. Adrian walked to the right.
He missed it. Missed it. If he hit that, he was dead.
Yeah, Adrian flashed late. Like, if he just aimed correctly, that was actually a stun landing.
And he should have aimed more towards the wall, because you can dodge. If you're next to a wall and you're aiming your skill shots, you should always aim like a bit to more left to the instead of to the wall or on top of the champion. You should aim a bit to the left, because he can't dodge anywhere else and it will still hit him. So that was a mistake from Xmidi. But this lane, for me, is very surprising. I kind of expected they would be playing so safe with P1 bot lane, but they're playing way too safe, right? They from the level 1, they weren't pushing, they weren't doing the strategy I would be doing, or as I mentioned, I would be pushing the 2 waves, warding, and then slow pushing the wave again. They're instead letting the Ezreal farm, which I don't really like. I think that's a big issue from P1 bot lane, not knowing the matchup, not being comfortable surviving ganks, and not knowing how to ward properly to survive those ganks.
I think it'd be the kind of thing where they get a little surprised by that initial like Elise mistake and they lose their heal. Maybe they think, you know, well, let's not fight anymore. We're down a combat summoner. And we talk about how within their respective roles in their teams, Arrow doesn't necessarily need to crush the lane phase.
They know that if they go even or slightly ahead, they will be in the right spot and they will be in comfortable spot. And that's a lot of LCS teams do that. A lot of LCS players go for this comfortable spot. But Stixay, once again, he's winning this lane with such a bad matchup.
I want to point out how Arrow played this, by the way. This is a bot lane that's going to freeze in front of his turret.
That's very good.
Right, the minion wave is like 1.5x. If it's equal size, this will push back towards CLG because they'll get reinforcements first. But this is like, there's like 3 or 4 more minions here, so it's going to kill CLG, or P1's wave first, and it's going to reinforce in time, and it's just going to stay in front of P1's turret, and CLG loses a full minion wave doing this.
And then they have to be scared of jungler as Ezreal Braum, because then this lane
because they're stuck by the turret. Yeah.
Basically, this is called like locking the wave, where you just lock the wave in front of your turret and just keep it there, and that puts a lot of pressure on the enemy AD. But then again, it's Ezreal. And in this position, after if you play Ezreal and you get the tier, all you have to do, you should always queue last hit. You should never go for auto attacks.
And you saw Arrow stand in front of that caster,
Yeah.
willingly tank 200 damage and say, I'm denying 17 gold from you.
And just to talk about locking the wave, generally the number you want to hit is 3 more. You want basically 3 caster creeps alive to keep the freeze there. So Arrow was clearing the minions relatively quickly when there was a fair amount stacked up.
Yeah,
as soon as he got it to around 3, he stops pushing, he starts body blocking the creeps, stuff like that.
Yeah, but yeah, the body block versus Ezreal, if you have a sustain or if you have a refillable potion, it's very good to block minions, because at this point, if you have Ezreal with only tier, you have to last it with Q. If you go for auto attacks, they will only trade you and they will win the trade. And Ashe and Nami, they're basically looking for all-in right now on the Ezreal. Not really all-in, but they can like...
Now nicely done though by P1. Midos gets the kill off, and that's going to feel good for Phoenix1 to say, hey, you know what? We played defensively, but mid lane's winning for us anyway.
This is so good. This is so good what Arrow is doing. He's slow pushing a big wave bottom, meaning that he has a big wave bottom to deny bot lane, and he's purposely trading badly with Stixay because he knows, hey, we killed your mid laner. Our jungler will go into your jungle because we know that we have man advantage, and we will deny this entire wave because you are half HP because I traded with you.
And it's a triple stacked wave that they're going to miss under the turret. Midos is fine here.
Yeah, this is a mistake. This is a very big mistake from Midos. They should, if you play versus a TP top laner and you want to do this, you have to sync it together to kill him before the TP lands. He was too reckless. He just started doing it before the team did it, and that means that the Stixay will get all this CS. But they was so good. This was such
almost amazing.
Yeah, it was such a good trade from Arrow when he just seeing the player purposely take bad trades to know that he knows this is what we will do. Even if I take bad trade, it's gonna be good for me because we will dive you.
Right. I'll take 300 damage. You take 200 damage. Well, now you're gonna die to a Rengar.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, super smart, and the timing was a little fortunate for P1, that right when they started building that wave was about the same time they killed the mid laner and get control of the bot jungle. So, you know, that was lucky, but then you see P1, not lucky, but fortunate.
They could have still pulled it out, but Midos a bit, you know, overdid it there. If he waited for the arrow, which Arrow should start with his arrow.
Yeah. It's so annoying to say that, right?
Yeah, then it would be perfect because they would just kill one of them and then disengage, and then Ezreal loses the entire wave.
And it's one of the situations, too, where it's actually an easier dive to pull off than it can be if you're against a tank or something like that. A Jace TPing in doesn't really have defensive tools to lock you down and stop you from DPSing the way something like a Nautilus or Maokai can have at 6. And that's one of the things that I think some teams don't talk enough about is how the TPs are going to influence the dive. If, you know, Rumble and Jace both join, what's a Jace really going to do to stop your dive from going other than try and kill you? As we see Darshan go down.
All right, well, it's a game where P1 gets to do whatever they want at this point. I mean, they're letting their jungler and you know, mid laner roam everything.
For the past minute, we saw Arrow just desperately trying to push ASAP because he realized that the enemy Ezreal recall. And once again, there is this P1 does whatever they want at this point.
Adrian gets to roam out of the lane to be part of the ganks. And
there was an arrow from Arrow.
Yeah. If you want to swap to CLG's vision, I'm happy to do that. It's up to you, whatever you feel like you want to talk about. Because Arrow right now is just like tossing cross map ultis and just saying, you know what, if you guys want to do things, I'll be over here.
Yeah, I'll finish on the Arrow point. Is that once you realize that the enemy ADK or the enemy bot lane reset, you have 2 options to do. You either freeze the lane and reset immediately as well, which we saw the first
right, you lock it in front of your turret and you match the recall right away.
And then he recalled, which is a very good case. If you can do it, if you have the good amount of minions to do that, you need basically a 3 range minions and 1 melee, and then next coming wave to do that, to lock that lane. And if you don't have this, then you have to push immediately, and then Arrow was trying to push ASAP to just recall.
Another reason that the push there is a good option is because your team is forcing plays on the top side of the map that CLG wants to react to, and if you push in the bot wave and Ezreal doesn't come bottom and he instead reacts to the mid play, you just get free turret damage. So forcing the Ezreal down bottom to not cover the extended play that was happening mid is one of the advantages of pushing. And that's why you see less freezes in general in competitive play right now, is because people like forcing that kind of action.
Okay, so Freeze, the question to you, do you want to swap to Stixay's vision or we want to keep on Arrow? Stixay is behind,
At this point, Arrow doesn't really have to do much, so I think we should swap to Stixay vision, and we'll talk about what he has to do in order to get his team back to this lane.
All right, great. We'll have that up in a second. Pretty much, there we go. All right, it's time to watch Stixay. He's actually swapping out of the lane.
Yes, he's doing exactly what I was
Great, let's go, let's hear this.
At this point, when we saw what what P1 tried to do. They tried to dive them, and they should have been able to pull out the dive. So at that point, you have to swap. You have to realize that they will do that again, and you have to swap and go for the gank. And this is perfect from CLG. This is literally what they had to do. Swap to top lane. P1 will get the first star, but if you stay there, you will get Doven and die.
Right. You're gonna, if you keep landing, you lose first turret anyway. So it's like that's gonna happen regardless. But in this case, they get to kill a rank or a rumble, and they get to get pressure on the top turret.
And P1 had TP advantage in this situation. So if CLG elected to go bottom there, it's not even just that you're down pressure in a lot of these lanes. It's that dive is almost 100%
Yeah, it's
guaranteed.
100 guaranteed, and then it generally works even if you would have an even TP. If you press tab and your team is behind, you know they will gank bot lane.
Yeah.
So you want to run away from that lane. It might be quite tricky. They shouldn't be able to get the second tier turret. That's a mistake from P1. They should be just getting a dragon at this point. But then, once again, it's still really good. They got the first turret, but then again, CLG did exactly what they needed to get back in the lane, even though P1 is ahead in the tempo.
And would you say, continuing on with this kind of avoiding them to swap turrets like they just did there, is this something you want to keep doing? So wherever arrows start showing, Stixxay wants to avoid, or are you fine slowly falling back into the actual kind of lane matchup now that the TPs are more equaled and you also got some global gold for your turret?
Yeah, right now I want to do what Stixxay is doing again. He's playing very well. He wants to avoid being near the first tier turrets because, once again, they have such a good dive. They have Rumble TP, they will have mid priority with Rengar, and they will jump them. So he's very afraid of getting dove, and there he goes. He's getting ganked.
Now for this, well, he can blank some of the CC. Thankfully, Stixxay dodged that arrow, but this is what happens. I mean, unfortunately for CLG, right? They opted out of this lane, and they gave all the control away to P1. So P1 had all the wards. They know it's completely dark from CLG, and they just set the trap up for the wave.
That was a slightly mistake from Afremu because Stixxay, he played well. He's an Ezreal. He can overextend slightly. He has an Arcane Shift. He has a Summoners to get away from it. And they didn't see the enemy on the map. So if you don't ever see the bot lane, you know, for a long period of time, you know that there's something happening.
That's a really nice play right there in the mid lane, though. Great stun from He just sets up the whole thing.
That can be a little risky to go for P1, or CLG, given the fact that P1 just ganked your bot lane and got a kill, and we're still kind of jumped and centered around the bot side. But they had enough vision, and we're pretty sure that P1 was on Dragon. And so I actually like that CLG goes for that kind of play. I think when you're behind, it can be easy to psych yourself out of places. Oh, they have control, but it's really hard to come back in a game when you're not doing things.
This is very curious. This is very curious. He's coming mid lane, Stixxay, which I think is a mistake because he has to reset his bottom side.
It's slow pushing towards P1.
It's slow pushing towards the enemy, so he's basically losing farm. For some reason, he went to mid lane to maybe try to siege the tower because Ryu was dead, but all he really needed to do is push the bot lane ASAP.
One more wave and it's fine.
So it pushes back to him, and that way he won't lose CS and Arrow will be losing CS. This way, you can see on the minimap that so many red dots that they're slow pushing towards the enemy and he's losing farm. They send Arrow in solo because, well, I wouldn't want to be in side lane after I died.
Doesn't look like anyone wants to be there.
Yeah.
And they've got some time to wait for it again. Now the push in towards the mid lane, and Ezreal is somewhat around, but it's mostly Huhi doing the heavy lifting here. Looks like nothing for Stixxay to really land. I want to point out, you're talking about the lane control. I really kind of want to illustrate something, that these pros often have like 9 or 10 CS per minute, which almost no one gets in solo queue outside a challenger. And it's not that some of it is they're mechanically better at last hitting, but a lot of it is things like this, with the lane pressure, where you don't want to give away 3 waves in a row doing nothing.
Yeah. You have to maximize your farm as an ADC, obviously, because you don't really have to do much else other than lane control and siege towers. But then I, again, really like this adaptation. I think CLG is playing very smart. They were behind 3K or 2.5K, now they're behind only 1.7, and that's given mainly because of the good rotations from CLG bot lane. They put CLG bot lane mid lane, where mid lane is the safest basically the safest lane for them, so they can get jumped by Rengar or Doven by Rumble.
Whoa, super aggressive.
Ooh, Rumble.
That was beautiful. That was really great. Huhi was there.
Yeah, that was a really nice play by CLG. The bot wave that we were talking about that CLG had never actually managed to push out. Well, if you never actually push it out and you let it slowly go to P1 side, eventually it becomes kind of that slow push anyways. So ideally they would have had someone farming and pushing it, but given that it was slow pushing, they make a good decision to go mid and force around this turret.
P1 bot lane is playing very, very disrespectfully. This is a big mistake from P1 bot lane. They should have just played safe because they knew that Orianna, it should have been called. Usually when your mid laner or someone like jungler shows somewhere, he has to say, okay, I'm cleansing this big wave bot lane, you have to play safe. And look how aggressively Arrow plays. This is, I don't know what is he doing. he's known for playing safe. He's known for not dying. He's known for being very consistent, and then he oversteps, makes CLG get this free kill and free tower when they shouldn't be able to do it.
And of course, Adrian shouldn't be here either at all. There's no reason for him to.
And Adrian does the same mistake, tries to save the tower that is already lost.
Yeah, I think
and just gets cocooned for no reason.
I think this is definitely one of the few times you can say that Arrow made like a really big mistake because
yeah,
you
very
could see
unexpected from Arrow.
Ori was running bottom to go catch that big wave that was coming in, and that's one of those times we talk about how important it is to be able to play patient and play safe. You're stronger than the Ezreal. You think, okay, I can trade onto him. I have my Nami here, but you're not really considering where the rest of the map might be opened up.
Yeah, AD carry turn into then you have basically a role that you have to consider everything that's a possibility, and you have to play well around your teammates, and you have to know where to play passive, where to play aggressively. And this was the prime example of Arrow just overstepping. I'm still like very shocked because I just didn't expect Arrow to do such a big mistake.
Right.
That was a like for you guys it might seem like it's a nothing, but for me this is really huge. It just made CLG get back into the game. They're now on
500 gold.
Yeah,
they're
500,
equal.
but the tempo has just changed so much, and then, yeah.
So let's again refocus the conversation. I mean, you're right. Big mistake out of Arrow. Huge deal right here. So Stixxay, what's your job? You're in a mid game where there's one outer turret to kill. Right, the map is pretty opened up. You don't have a laning phase anymore. So how do you play laning phase when you need to buy a teammate?
Okay, let's get back to Stixxay. When you get put as an ADC mid lane, all you really have to do is push ASAP, push as fast as you can, and then group with your team. Your team will most likely decide if they want to play bot side or top side, and your role is to just safely push, not die, and then group with your team. You have to disappear in the vision. You see what he's doing. He's always coming to his team. He's always fighting.
Hey, good follow-up here. I like how he doesn't bother with the wave. It's important to know when's the right time to go for the wave and when not to. There you saw there were a couple creeps, doesn't follow after them, goes to his team who's about to start this fight.
And yeah, he was the damage that helped make sure that the Ashe and the Rengar died. Arcane shifted in, landed the ulti. This is a good turnaround by Zig. But he can just jump the wall and stay safe. And again, he's just going to try to mark. He's going to try to queue up the wall. But, you know,
Tifa 2, not that bad anymore. But then we just saw the Ezreal strength again. Ezreal is able to be 1v2 versus Ashe Name, pushing, contesting the way with his Qs from a very big distance, and then meanwhile Braum is getting vision in the river, cleaning pink wards, and then once anything starts to happen, Stixxay is immediately on follow-up. He doesn't care about 3 minions. It doesn't matter if you get this 60 gold from range creep. You need to be with your team and you need to be following up. And you see Afram instantly Qs and Stixxay is right away there.
And I think this is one of the things that Ezreal can do that a lot of other AD carries in the meta can't, is that he can play a lot more aggressive. And sure, you can sit in the back of team fights and shoot Qs, but you can also position a lot more aggressively. Towards the tail end of this fight, Stixxay kind of gets cut off here as the Rumble ultimate comes in to snipe out Aframu, and he's caught up here. And this is a situation that you would never want to be in as another AD carry. That's fine to do as Ezreal. And you can chase through fights a little more aggressively than you would on any other carry. And you see there, just Arcane shift out over the wall when you get a little cut out.
It's the only meta champion that has a jump, unless Caitlyn, but Caitlyn is not really meta.
You're right, yeah, she's maybe like the number 4 or 5 bot laner right now, and we don't see pretty much any Trist.
Right, this is really good again. They group up with Ezreal. Ezreal, if you're mid lane here and there's a good Drake you want to contest, you can call your teammates to group mid lane. You can ping your top laner to push up top lane and come with you mid lane, and that way you get extra man advantage, and then you can just go towards the dragon and get the dragon. And that's a very good play from CLG here. And Stixxay he can just play so aggressively right now. He has the core power spikes. You should always mention where you have your power spikes, and that's Trinity Force. Finish the Hair and Mana Immune for Ezreal at this point.
656 mana right now. He's almost Muramana.
Yeah, you're twice as strong as Ashe.
Yep.
There he goes.
2 items, big power spike, jumps forward right, gets to Arcane Shift in, land the Q and everything else. And so, yeah, he's power spiked. He can kind of be part of these fights super easily. And looks like they're going to roam right back down to this Drake as you were talking about before. And
stays with the team again, doesn't go for the mid wave. There's no need for the mid wave. And try to pull out the Drake, get it.
W's the team, and they're actually going to wait out the Rengar. They don't want to take this fight right now, and
they're playing very safe. I like it. They should get back to mid lane with Ezreal. Ezreal should just get the mid priority again, push it out, and then they should go all together towards mid lane. But it's important for Ezreal to go mid lane right now, because if he doesn't, P1 will just push the wave and then get the Drake. It's a lot about the lane control right now. And they're slightly they're trying to fight. They're saying, okay, we don't care about the wave that we are losing under the second tier mid tower. It's more important for us to go to team fight. and how to defend the Drake, because they were slow again with Ezreal to rotating mid lane. And this looks like a Drake for P1. Are 50-50.
Did they smite it away? Smithy gets it, Meteos is chunked out, and pretty much everything CLG wanted. They did lose a wave of minions. That died to the turret, but otherwise they have control over mid and they can go right back down.
Yeah, that was actually a really interesting situation as they re-engage.
Equalizer as well. He's going to take a lot of damage from that, actually. And yeah, they just have to run
very well with Qs right now. They have to disengage. This is the kiting from Ezreal. He can turn again, Q again. That's what you should be doing when you're low on Ezreal and you don't have...
I knew he was safe.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows there's a lot of ultimates out. The only one really available should be the Orianna ult.
He can dodge that.
I like the adaptation from CLG, from Stixay mainly, that he says, okay, it doesn't matter for me to lose the wave because they made a mistake. They weren't in time to push the mid wave, and then they were saying basically, okay, farm is not so important for me as to be with you guys, with my team.
Yeah, it was a really interesting Dragon situation where CLG was there first, and P1 used the Rengar ult to force CLG out of position because they don't have a tank to really sit there and say, walk into me. And then Darshan got a little chunked out and blows his TP to get back in, while CLG, like you said, intelligently doesn't bother going for that mid wave that P1 had pushed in, and then they actually contest the Dragon and grab it. So it was a really tricky Dragon situation. I think both teams played reasonably well.
Ezreal can get both kills here. He should just,
WE over there, yep.
He should just give up, not try to kill the Rengar and just try to chase the other. It's important as an ADC if you are like Ezreal, for example, that can chase enemies, or Ashe, let's say, and you see someone that is already dead, you should be chasing the other guy. You should leave your teammate to kill the champion that's dead and just chase the other. Let's hope for some extra poke. Sometimes you can even kill him. If not, you just get an extra poke and you get extra objectives. You can start going more aggressive.
I think in this case, he actually needed to save Darshan because Adrian exhausted Darshan and Meteos was going to kill him 1v1, so I think he did have to save that guy. Yeah. But you're right, like in general, like Rebuff Ezreal gets to chase anything he wants.
Better be safe than sorry.
Yeah, so they get the 1-for-0. I guess it might have been a 2-for-0, you know, if Darshan does live. So, but it's you have to make that decision in a quarter of a second, and he went for the safer one. Okay, so this game is very close. 1300 down though is CLG, but looks like this is actually a game. I'm kind of glad we have one where it feels like Stixay is going to be the one to carry. He's got the most kills in the team. If CLG wins, it's going to be him because his team is losing right now. And so again, like we've talked a fair bit about how you play the lane assignments, right? He's playing back, he's farming with Q. But at a certain point, CLG needs some lane pressure, right? And does he need Afroman to babysit him so he doesn't die to Rengar? Right? There's no tier 1 turret to fall behind to. Like that mid lane's very open. I feel like you can die to Rengar if you don't play it right.
They should always be around him, but Stixay playing Ezreal is more safe than playing other ADCs. Yeah. When we look at Arrow, it's for Arrow he can't never pressure because then he can just get engaged or poked by Ezreal or who he on our Linsor. So for Stixay he can be much more aggressive, just knowing that he has Ezreal, and then they should always play around him, right? The Braum should always be around him, and the Elise should always be around him. So he potentially is always safe from Rengar. And
just talk a little bit about P1 and what they're doing. They've been throwing a lot of the wards over on the side, brushes, and over the walls that both teams have been doing a fair amount. P1 was just doing it there on your screen. And that's one of the things you need the most as an AD carry when you're farming mid, is to have these sides seen so that they can't get easy flanks on you. So like the entrances into your own jungle are very important to have those warded, or warding over the wall like CLG is doing right now to stop them from being able to get into the river at all. So depending on if you're the aggressor, the one trying to play safe, you want to put your wards over their walls or have them just over your own. And that's so important for an AD carry to be safe in the mid lane because, like you said, right now not many champions have mobility in the mid lane, so you need to have like kind of pre-knowledge of where you should be positioning.
This is a slight mistake from CLG. They should just, again, wait for the Stixay. Stixay should make a call. I'm super strong, guys. Let me push mid lane. And then we go out together. There was this half a second difference between Elise and Stixay where they weren't together and Elise just gets chunked for free. Basically, Stixay, he's 3-0. He should be the leader of everything right now. The game should be spinning around him. He should be, when he pushes mid, people wait for him to push mid, and then he goes
with them to take a thing.
Most likely even first. He goes, Braum is next to him or slightly behind him, and then Ezreal just plays very aggressively with Qs and pokes everyone.
And he scores building towards the Ruin King. Cooldown boot's done as well. I'm going to actually check through his stats, see if he ran like any cooldown or anything. No, he's just 30 CDR with the Trinity Force and the cooldown boots. That's what you get from the items. Of course, yeah, he's going towards Ruin King. Pink wards in the inventory, very important. Control wards, rather. And got those on 3 members of CLG. Plenty more on the map. There's, looks like 2 placed right now. So 3 need replacement.
Got to hear AD carry perspective on control wards. Freeze, when do you buy them?
I try to buy them all the time, but I
Yeah.
just like, so my team doesn't blame me for not buying, but then I do the trick where I just hide them somewhere for myself, and they're like, hey, I have a pink word here, you should just buy it.
The one on your screen right then,
Yeah.
that's the pink word you want. The one that's really far back, you buy it once, you put it there. Hey guys, I'm contributing to vision
Yeah,
control.
usually as an ADC, you should always buy a pink word, one.
Yeah.
And then if you place, you should have like 2 pink words. So like you place one
In your jungle,
for
right?
yourself, basically. If you're side lane, you push it, you pull it, you know, like they can destroy the pink ward. It doesn't really matter because if it saves you, it's very worth for you. If it lets you farm an extra wave, that's so good for you. And then you have another pink ward that if you change side lane, if you go from side lane to mid lane, then you just ward for yourself again. And there's a missed arrow from arrow.
Uh-oh, missed it. Unlucky there. But yeah, the lesson I try to tell people in solo queue is like just ward one of your jungle entrances. Just like if you get invaded, you'll know, and if you don't get invaded, well, your entire jungle's lit up. Like it's win-win, right? Like,
And always
and it won't die.
for it. It's so helpful because it's 75 gold and it makes you farm less afraid and gets you extra waves.
Yeah.
Lets you play more aggressively, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Like you can control ward like your own tri-brush, like behind you in red or something. It's totally fine. So we're into a fight. It's 6A trying to join the team as CLG's actually on the wrong side of the map. Darshan's splitting right now, so they're playing a 4v5 as they're trying to let Jace get pushing in.
Just poke. Just Ezreal should just play around me, poke. Don't go in. We have Jace pushing bot lane.
You can jump this wall
just
here.
let me poke, yes. Don't get engaged, it's very important, and then
Yep.
Jace can just split push.
And they flash the bubble, so they're okay.
That arrow arrow missed around the mid lane is actually
crucial.
super bad because P1 basically has 2 engaged tools, that and the Meteos ultimate, and they used both there, and both got nothing. And in the meantime, Darshan was just splitting down bot lane, so a really good job. Or it was actually just kind of misfired by arrow because they forced Huhi to use his escape velocity.
And then
you just have to shoot along the path.
Didn't guess the right direction. Didn't shoot it the right way.
Yeah, so he needs to snipe Huhi out there and then let his team pick him. So a small mistake by Arrow that actually cost the team a lot because off the back of that, you know, Darshan just pushes down bottom super aggressively.
But then let's look at the team comps, right? If I would be an Ashe or Ezreal, right now I know Ezreal is such a stronger champion than Ashe. He's double as strong as champ, and there is the fight.
Shockwave only gets after me, but Huhi's pretty low. 6A jumps in, gets the heal, and now looks like it's just CLG having to kite away. They've already lost the support. It's a 4v5.
Yeah, this is really bad for CLG because even though they have 2 fight drakes, they will eventually get outscaled from P1, which is kind of scary, right? You have Orianna, Rengar, Rumble, Ashe, and Ashe outscales Ezreal in late game. Ezreal is so strong in mid game, but then he falls off. So you should be trying to force your team to make plays around you right now and be together.
I want to ask about something, because Arrow's going for a more defensive build. He's getting a Hex Drinker right now. He's afraid of Aurelion Sol and Elise. And the reason Ashe outscales is because she buys Infinity Edge. And 70% crit Ashe with IE, like, that's all the damage in the world. But stopping her Hex Drinker, she's still 3,600 gold away. And actually going for another dagger is not even... It's going like maybe Ruin King or like a rapid fire cannon now.
Yeah, looking at Arrow build, it's 29 minutes, right? It's gonna be 30 minutes now. It's very weak build to this point of the game. He should have more items, and that's just telling me how well they play around Arrow and how much they denied him. And that's saying that CLG has so much time to close out this game. They have 15 to 20 minutes to close out the game. If it has 50-minute mark, then P1 will start winning the team fights, will start winning the game. But then 15-20 minutes, that's a lot of time for Ezreal to
you've got till 45. Like, it's easy to get those team fights. So once again, 6A is the one doing the poke, getting a lot of the farm. They know bot lane inhibitor's open. So we can go for a bit of a macro point. Like, is CLG just going to ward around Baron basically, or do they like play around top bottom inhibitor more?
So Ezreal
should get one choice, right?
Ezreal, once again, he just has his power cycle. He should be very confident to push mid lane with his team and avoid getting engaged with his E and poke with Jace. And then Braum can spell shield everything, so they could be looking for team fights.
And Afro does die at the very start. He has to kite back away. It's still 6A who gets to get the Qs, but his team just drops too fast. They get blown up by all the P1 engage. Shockwave didn't see that one coming. And yeah, that's not good for 6A. That's a big mistake. Has to flash, knock it volley.
Baron for P1.
Yeah, that's
I was about to say that actually wasn't that bad for CLG. Ezreal alive with full health, full mana, while the enemy team just used all their engaged tools, means that it's really hard for them to actually take Baron off of it.
And then the Shockwave came.
Then the Shockwave hit, and he had Flash available, and it would suck to lose your Flash just dodging a Shockwave in a important team fight, but he needed to flash that to keep the pressure off P1 being able to do Baron right now. So that was a huge mistake by Stixxay.
As an ADC, if you play versus Orianna, you should always flash the Orianna ball. You should respect the Orianna that if she Orianna balls, she has a plan to kill you, and you should always flash, because if you don't flash it, you will eventually need to flash it anyway, and you will be low.
And I mean, this wasn't the cleanest turn off P1. It didn't turn out too bad for CLG. They could have lost Baron off CLG eating that Orianna Shockwave alone, so not the worst thing. But the arrow's back up.
Getting
another
scary.
one.
Jeez, and it looks like Arrow's actually creating all these openings now. He's landed 2 very important stuns in a row, and the
Stixxay can carry this team fight if he jumps on the arrow.
he's safe.
Oh, he missed the Q.
He's in. Ruin King auto attack kills him. And now he's like, I can see Meteos. He knows the camouflage is up, and he can't find the range just yet.
He has to hit his Qs to get a reset.
There we go. Just has the chase down. They can't touch him. He's got a blue buff. He's got max CDR.
Yeah, they ignored Stixxay. Stixxay once again did the
Ooh, he screwed it up.
job. Yep.
W too early. Wow.
Did the perfect job where he just stayed out. He legit let his teammates die. That's sometimes what you have to do as an AD carry, where you just play versus assassins or high damage dealers. You sort of let your team kind of die, you cut a bit, and then when they used everything on your teammates, you are able to jump in and kill.
That's basically a repeat fight of the one we saw in the mid lane just before that, where Arrow sniped out Aphromoo, and Stixxay didn't do like a ton to try and save him.
The problem there was that Stixxay got very chunked before he could do anything. Like the team fight for CLG, as you said, looked very good for them. In that part, if you blow everything on support and you kill him, that's perfect for you as a Ezreal support, because you can still kite, you can still poke, you still have a Hu-He on Ireland Sword, but people die too fast, and then Stixxay got Orianna ball, so he couldn't do anything.
Right, and then after that, P1 goes on to Baron, right call, they turn off. But their turn is not very clean. It takes forever for them to actually chase down targets, which gives Stixxay time to rejoin that fight. And then once again, you kind of see the same situation where he's starting to free hit. So here's the turn.
Here's the turn, Baron.
Stick this off the map right now.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, this is the first half of it.
Yeah, so the fact that he was forced out by that Ori ult meant that P1 should have got a clean turn here. Probably killed Darshan, but Meteos missed a couple bolas over the course of this, which gives Stixxay time to kind of rejoin this fight. And then once again, we see what happens when P1 does not actually get onto Stixxay, the real huge threat in this fight.
Everyone is poked here. This is a perfect position for Stixxay. Just look what he does. He hides behind Braum here.
Let him die.
Yeah, let him die. Just use his Qs. That's all he does. He just uses Qs until Arrow is in position of dying. Arrow flashes now, so he knows he can go in, because they're all focusing Hu-He and they can't focus him. And at this position, he just has to connect his Qs and kill everyone. So he was just patiently waiting till they start focusing on someone else than him, which was Hu-He and Aphromoo before, and then he just joins the fight and jumps in.
They come back to an arrow onto Xmithy, who's able to repel to stay alive, but Stixxay's here. Ulti's going to come across, not find anything yet. But they know he can carry. He's got to be smart. Ooh, what a great kill. And a bubble on a Stixxay's huge. Shockwave as well.
Yeah, Meteos can go in here and try and blow him. Stixxay, unfortunately.
Skite with Stixxay, yeah.
He has Locket. He's like almost invincible.
Nice.
Another kill. He's just killing everyone.
Yeah, he's very strong now. His Q will just kill everyone right now. He can jump in soon after they start focusing
well
someone
played
else.
Arrow.
Stixxay went around the back side,
nice.
but Arkin shifts the wall and jukes to the other side to land the Q.
He can just use Qs and he can kill him.
1v1
Use
Ryu.
blasting flank too.
He's going to go for the hopeful recall. Yeah, I think it's not enough time.
Oh, he's going for the inhibitor maybe, actually.
No, oh yeah, there is the bottom hit open. He can probably 1v1. He's got the he can lifesteal off minions and he can regen with red buff.
Yeah, he can zone Ryu with his Qs and
it's
basically get it.
He's got to be smart about that. Yeah, that's huge because Merlinomicon's on, so he can't heal anymore.
Ryu has speed up again. This might be Stixxay.
He's queuing for cooldown on the D.
Yeah. Nice. He has red buff too. So
okay, now as soon as he lands the Q, Ryu can't chase.
So that was actually a really interesting team fight overall, and I think both AD carries played it pretty well. Arrow is struggling to like hit out more priority targets. Either the Jace, Ezreal, or Aurelion Sol would be nicer to hit than the Elise or Braum, which is who he's been hitting recently. But that's also a good job of CLG by frontlining, which forced them to kind of go on those targets. And then Arrow does a good job continuing to get his DPS out despite getting relatively low
Arrow
health.
can go in. He's doing the same thing that Stixxay is doing. Stixxay is a bit behind. He tries to alder, but then here Meteos comes jump and look at Stixxay what he does. He gets caught initially by the bubble, which is a bad E from him, but then he tries to disengage as much as he can and then waits again he just goes away, and then C, there he can just jump again because he looks for these targets that are split alone, and then he knows that he can jump into them. But you should always keep your jump to be defensive. If you can use your Qs and auto attacks, you shouldn't use your E as well for it. But yeah, here he just picks up the targets that were very low from the team fight before.
Yeah, the only mistake by 6A really there was getting hit by that bubble. He was
the
very lucky.
The bubble, yeah.
Rumble actually missed his ultimate.
Yeah.
He layered that on top of the bubbled ultimate, the bubbled 6A. That would have been a
yeah. You should always keep your E to defensive, because you should, as a good Ezreal player, you should always be in position to Q and then E away from anything that's coming onto you. And then there he uses the Qs, as Phreak said, to get E again, because if you use Q, it gives you a cooldown reduction.
1.5 seconds.
Yeah, and then if he hits Q as well, he gets the movement speed from his Trinity Force, so he can kite very well.
Yeah, you lose a quarter second of movement by having to cast the thing. So like, if it weren't for the E reset, it wouldn't be worth it. But yeah, getting your E up 1.5 seconds sooner, really big deal. That'll cover the distance. CLG got a Mountain Drake on the comeback here, and 2,000 gold lead. It's still all about Stixxay. He's added Edge of Night to his build, by the way. I mean, he's killing squishies, right? There are no tanks.
Yeah, there's no tanks, so it's a very good item for him. Plus, the Edge of Night on Ezreal is just annoying, straight up. Because you can catch him already with his E, and then you have Edge of Night as well, so he can play very aggressively.
He just caught out Meteos. And now he puts the shield on. Stixxay actually ulting the wave to keep his team pushing. That was
Ryu and Arrow were coming around from the flank to try to get over because CLG was rotating faster, and he hops onto Ryu to stop him from getting involved in the fight. Basically,
we could look at it again. That was basically a Ezreal assassin. I would like to see that.
It's over though. It's over. CLG win off this.
This is one, and this is just perfect play from Ezreal. You know, like at this point he's so fat. He has Edge of Night, so that once again he just pops Edge of Night, has the whale on his E, and he can avoid getting hit by any ability, and then he 1v2s Arrow and Orianna. That's something, you know. If your carry, one carry can 1v2 the both carries, that tells you the story of the game, right? That's just Stixxay rolling over the entire team. And
I think this is why you see a lot of teams starting to prioritize Ezreal a little bit higher, because he does have this individual playmaking carry potential that almost everything else in the meta lacks. We saw Arrow, you know, hit some good ultimates, but they were always seemingly hitting frontline targets, which is totally fine for CLG's comp when they have so much damage in the top and AD carry position. So Stixxay, a couple small mistakes in team fights, getting hit by some abilities he probably shouldn't have, but it was never punishing enough where he actually died. So he ends the game 9-0-5, great game overall.
Yeah, and then that Edge of Night was really good pickup for him. Playing versus squishies as Ezreal, getting that extra Lily plus the Banshee, that's just straight up very good buy. And then in the end, he 1v2s. His damage is going to be insane. Yeah,
25,000, highest in the game.
Highest in the game.
Yeah, certainly not 1,000 per minute, which sometimes we see, but still very, very good play by him. And yeah, I mean, a deserved game. I mean, in my opinion, he's player of the game. I think he super hard carried that one.
For sure.
And it was, I'm glad we got a game where the bot lane actually had an impact.
Yeah.
Because game one is like, well, Meteos is ahead, so Arrow wins for free. Game two, Stixxay, well, it's Smithy, so he wins for free. And then it was actually the plays made by Stixxay are the reason CLG even won at all. And it was so cool because it was when he chose to actually dive the backliners. Jumping over the wall saying, I'm going to go for Arrow here because I can.
Yeah, and I think you get to see, too, that even if you fall behind a little bit early, there's still things you can do. The fact that Stixxay swapped to the top side to get out of that bad lane.
That was very good by him. That was perfect rotation by CLG because they were losing. They were about to get a Dovin again by the enemy. They were set. P1 was setting for it. They wanted to plan it, and they avoided by swapping. They got a kill. They got a tower. That was just brilliant play, and then then they swapped again. After we got caught there again, but then Stixxay never died, so he was always farming. And in irony, if your support dies, you get more experience, more farm, and if you're Ezreal, you can just deal with 1v2, you can farm up, and then eventually just carry the game.
You heard it from Freeze. Let your supports die, get extra XP, carry the game on Ezreal. That's what he wants you to do.
Absolutely agree. So, hey, yeah, beautiful game from him. So let's talk about the players overall. I think we came in, you guys were saying Arrow's the better player. Okay, Stixxay won the series. Does it change your opinion in any way?
Well, I don't know what you think. I think on Ezreal, you have a little bit more of an opportunity to make individual plays, and in that regard, Stixxay did outperform him. Both of them had a time where they kind of got smashed in laning phase. Game 3, he's losing laning phase, but he's able to turn it around and take over the game on the Ezreal pick. So for that, I give it to him a little bit.
Yeah, I would like before the match, I would say Arrow had the slightest edge. You know, like if you would be percentage like 10%, 5% better than Stixay after this match, it looked like it wasn't Arrow's day, it was his off day. He didn't he played well around the pressure, he played well around being safe, but then the last games there were a couple misplays where he just straight up died, gave advantage to the enemy, and it didn't fall like Arrow, right?
Yeah, I agree. And like we were all kind of shocked, like, wow, this is something that he doesn't do normally. Like he has the vision. So let's talk about a little bit of the future. CLG is going to play against TSM. So you got Styx against Wild Turtle. I feel like we'd all say Styx is a generally better player than Wild Turtle is, but tell me what you think about that matchup.
I think the big thing is while Arrow is not super lane dominant, he also usually doesn't lose lane too hard. Whereas we've seen a little bit of a propensity out of TSM's bot lane to lose lane harder than they should. So I think you have to be a little bit worried if you're TSM about CLG picking some of these Bard picks and these more not cheesy, but aggressive playmaking champions. And if they get those, Styx, they can have a field day.
Yeah, as was said, like. P1 is really good at losing bot lane, or like not losing,
going
but
equal without getting
screwed. Yeah, and then you look at TSM, and then you look how much P1 had to do to deny Aphromoo these picks. Malzahar, Thresh, they had to ban those. They couldn't let him roam around the map because that's what happened the second game. He just rolled over the impact that he had. So if you don't do that as TSM, you will get rolled over, sort of, I feel, because then they will be able to just do that again and win the lane, and then put Aphromoo onto his roaming supports where he just can roam and afford to leave Stixay alone, because Stixay plays very well in 1v2. He just knows how to play passively, farm up, and then pressure the lane.
Yep, did it pretty well. So any final thoughts about this matchup overall with these players?
I think you said it best when you said Arrow seemed to have a little bit of an off day. He missed a couple ultimates that could have been game-changing if he hit Huhi on that one where Aurelion Sol was leaving, or if he didn't walk up during that tragic two deaths that they gave away and lost mid-turret off of
the mid-turret,
yeah. All right, so Freeze, this is going to pretty much be it for us. I want to give you a chance to sort of thank the watchers, and also, of course, you're on a new NACS team, Tempo Storm, who've made their entrance into League of Legends. You're in playoffs. You're up against Gold Coin United, I believe.
Yeah, I believe 4 days or 5 days from now, we will play just basically death or qualify, right?
Yeah.
But versus Golcon United, which I think is the best team in Challengers right now. So if we defeat them, we have very high chance of just playing the promotion tournament and qualifying. If we lose, we're going home, because we don't get any chance to qualify for the LCS. So that's all or nothing right now.
All right, all or nothing. BO5, right? Against BCU?
BO5.
Looking
Mad
forward
Life
to
in
it?
Phoenix.
Yeah, Mad Life.
Mad Life in Phoenix is going to be fun. So Freeze versus Mad Life and NACS on, I guess it would be Wednesday then, if that was the case. Same normal Challenger day.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, one's on Wednesday, one's on Thursday. I think
we're the
United
first.
one.
We're the first, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so you're on Wednesday. Yeah, so Wednesday, this guy's going to be competing. See, he's already smart. Let's see how well he can put up as well in the game as well. BO5 against Gold Coin United. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's toss it back down to the analyst desk as they break down the final series of the day.